Good morning, bedheads. Click. So, this is like an original Coffee with Karen. When I first started doing this, I literally would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just my schedule was, I don't know, I was just always getting up so early then. And I literally would record 5 minutes after I got up. Okay, it's been maybe like 10 minutes. Had to feed Lucy. I drank a little. My morning routine right now is drinking a cup of water with a half a teaspoon of baking soda in it. And then I got my coffee. So, click. But I did wake up this morning feeling like I had some messages, like I just wanted to talk about something and not have it so planned. Recently, over probably the last month and a half, I've been very structured. We did a noon and a 7 p.m. and it was kind of, you know, what I put out during Coffee with Karen was very structured. Pendulum, cards, talk about politics, that kind of stuff. So, anyways, it's kind of nice. I can feel myself shifting just to let my team know. I can feel myself, my creative license wants to shift right now. And I think this is a good example of following for everybody here, following your intuition. My channel or this community, my facilitating of this community is a very good example of following your intuition and allowing yourself. The problem in our society, and plus especially when you rely on other people or other people are working with you, which is, could be in many situations, it's really hard to follow your intuition at some point if you set up structures, right? Because structures are what allows people to understand what's going on. So, like in the community here, we've been, a lot of people are used to us posting Sunday through Thursday, 12 and 7. Well, I can feel myself shifting and not wanting to be so structured in that. The other day, I was going to post part 3 of Jesus with the SGs. And I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do that particular video. And if I wanted to, I probably would have just talked about something else. So I think I'm just going to have to I should go, oh, is that what I really want to do tonight? So anyways, it's just a good example of following your intuition and letting your spirit guides speak to you. So anyways, today I wanted to take a look at this mug, by the way, is in our shop. Isn't it amazing? I'm not even, it feels like it's like a little feisty mug, but I'm not even feeling feisty, but I just think it's freaking hilarious. Okay, so um, I wanted to look at pendulum messages that we have received for the last, since, okay, I started doing pendulum on February 10th. February 10th. So we are February, March, April. We are a little over 2 months of pendulum messages, okay? And if you're new here, what I mean by pendulum messages is I use a dowsing rod. I got my little bag down here with my books and stuff in it and my supplies. So I used a dowsing rod, which I just got a few extras. If you guys want to see my dowsing rods. So this was my original. That was my original dowsing rod. No, sorry. These are pendulums. See, that's what happens when I just wake up and I haven't had my full cup of coffee. Okay, so these are pendulums. Okay. This came with my dowsing rods. So the dowsing rods are these, which I can talk to my spirit guides through these. Okay. So this was my original. Then I got this one from somebody in the community, handmade. Isn't that beautiful? Handmade. It's got little cats on it. Oops. It's got little cats on it. Okay, so I just got these from Temu. I don't know if people don't like to shop at Temu, but you can get some really cute stuff on there. So I just got this on Temu. There. I do have an affiliate link to Temu. if you guys are interested in using that to support the channel, it's only because I do shop on there for some of these supplies. And I thought, well, I might as well apply for an affiliate. So that's cute, right? This one has stones. I was just making sure it was even. This one has stones for the chakras. It's not really even, is it? It needs some loosening up. Okay, and then I got this one. This is crystal quartz. That's cool. Everything I've purchased on there has been authentic. Stones. I'll have to show some other stuff that I've gotten. Isn't that pretty? So that's crystal quartz. And then I got this one, and this is amethyst. That was pretty too. I mean, the things are so inexpensive. And I don't, it just depends on how you feel. I haven't done enough research. I've seen some that has a little star in the middle. I've done some research, and I don't know about the labor laws and stuff, honestly, in China. But I'm wondering if we know the truth about how they live right now, if they just do things inexpensive because things just are inexpensive and we don't have to be charging that much. I'm not sure. I'm sure many people will have comments about Temu and stuff, but I did hear actually that Temu is going to be raising their prices. Just so you know, everybody is. Even like I made a comment the other day about our mug shop. I mean, these mugs come from China. Everything comes from China, And if F-45 doesn't settle down with the tariffs, we're in for a rude awakening, I think. So, okay, so I woke up this morning thinking about these pendulum messages. And because my Myers-Briggs type is a big picture thinker, so the second letter in the Myers-Briggs, S and N. So S is intuitive, which is not spiritual intuitive we talk about here. And the S is sensing, a sensor, okay? So intuitives, they learn, they give out information, they learn information by understanding the big picture. They have to know the big picture first before they can learn anything, really. Like if you don't tell me why I'm learning something, I have a hard time learning it, And sensors are more of like they would probably appreciate if I went through every single message right now. I'm going to give you the big picture, but the sensors would appreciate more step by step. That's how they learn. Like, tell me, the steps A to Z, and I'll be able to learn that way. Where the intuitives have a harder time. Like, it's not a harder time, but sometimes the steps don't really matter to me. If I get the idea, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's a little bit of my learning style. So, or my personality type. Okay, so, but like I said, I woke up thinking about all of these messages. And when I look back at them, which makes me want to inspire you to keep a log of all messages you get from your spirit guides, okay? Because if you keep a log of all your messages, if you're getting them right now, then through pendulum or dowsing rods or intuitively or whatever, even if you're not sure if they're direct, like you're not here, you don't have the clairs necessarily, your intuition, even if you're just getting like little nudges and you're getting these little ideas and you're like, oh, where'd that idea come from? That's something to pay attention to. So be writing those things down so you can look at the big picture eventually. So if I hadn't been writing all these down, I wouldn't see a pattern. Okay, so I'm seeing a pattern now. So in the beginning, when we first started, which was in February, probably it was like it was like 2 weeks after the inauguration. And things were like, if you can remember how you felt then compared to how you feel now, for me, it's different. Back then, it was more uncertainty. It was shock and awe every day. I'm not as shocked anymore stuff is still appalling, but it's not the shock and awe anymore, right? It's more of, okay, how are we going to deal with this kind of feeling now than when it was in the beginning. Okay. So in the beginning, almost most of our pendulum messages had to do with, I mean, I'll read some, okay? Ready, need military. Ready, protect yourself. Tyrant down today. Make big changes. Hague. Remember they used to say the Hague a lot? Why USA go through this? That was, yeah, that was interesting. Why USA go through this? And then they had me use angels and ancestors, oracle cards to answer that. And then the answers were, I might as well go through some of these. The answer was move with the flow of life rather than pushing against it. Allow the fire guardian to help you awaken a wilder side of yourself and burn away fear and shame that stands between you and your desires. Passion is powerful and absolutely encouraged by spirit. Get clear about what you want. I underline that. Enjoy growth and reap rewards. Feminine energy rising, which is true. Feminine energy is rising now. We are moving out of a 260,000 year cycle of heavy masculine, divine masculine energy, and divine feminine energy now for the next 260 years or whatever. See what I mean about the S and the N? The N, I'm like, well, whatever, it's close to that, 260,000 years. Which drives S's nuts, I'm sure. But my N's, you get me. You get me. So the divine energy is rising now, which is why there's a lot of the unsteady, even, people are unsteady about what's going on right now, especially white men. So that was an interesting why USA go through this. That was on February 14th. So did you hear what it was about, burn away fears and shame that stand between you and your desires. Get clear about what you want. Enjoy growth and reap rewards. On the 15th, back NATO now. Then I'm not going to tell you the dates. I'm just going to give you messages. CY pie in sky. CY pie in sky. And then something good that seems impossible or unlikely. Then they spelled out. I mean, these are all the things they spelled out using the pendulum. Okay. Oh, I didn't finish sharing that. So just for people who are newer, the pendulum looks like, it has letters basically. It's upside down. It has letters. Okay. And so they can spell things out using the little pendulums I showed you. Okay, so these are all the things that they have spelled out over the last couple months. President Kamala Harris, they spelled that out. Okay, which is interesting. President Kamala Harris. They spelled that out on February 17th. I'm actually going to go through these because I want to see if you can see the pattern too, Then they said patience today and coup, COUP. Very soon. Want no damage. And then I asked, as she's clarified that that's why they are being very careful. They meaning whoever is taking care of the situation. Risk high now, safety. That was the end of February. Elon, you suck. They spelled that out. Elon, you suck. Do you notice how there's been a shift with him? I mean, there just is. There's like, where is the attention on him anymore? Has anybody been protesting outside of Tesla still? I don't know. I mean, I know he's like backing away, but it's just an interesting shift. Okay, city under attack. War in sight. These were messages that they gave. Then I ran out of room on that page. I had to move. Watch him closely. Now we're into March. Okay. Watch him closely. Justice coming. Wait is over. Military ready. Military is activated. Here, Jack. Win today. Okay, so now, okay, so all of those messages, that was like a month of those messages. Okay. Then they start shifting into at least a week or so of leave it to Jesus. Okay. Jack is here to, and I asked to what? Arrest Trump. Okay. Then for like a week, it was leave it to Jesus. Leave what to Jesus? F45. Okay. Jesus loves you. They still said he's going down. Okay. So they've shifted. There was nothing about Jesus or God in the first month. And I'm going to tell you why I think it is, and I want to know why you think it is. Okay. And then it was leave F45 to Jesus. And then so then on March 25th, it was F45 going down for how, and it was treason. When April, but I wrote don't attach to that, but it said April. And then the 26th, it visualize yourself happy. That was one of the messages. Okay. Then the 27th of March, just let go. So now we're getting these personal messages. First, it was all these messages about don't worry, don't worry. It was, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. They said President Kamala Harris. Okay. So the question is, why did they do that first month? Okay. So some of you using your logical mind might want to say, why are they lying? Okay. So that's just something to throw out there. And I'm going to record another video because I want to get community perspective for one of our community members who's struggling right now with some feedback she got from the spirit guides, and she felt they lied to her. Okay. So she took some action based on what they had told her. So we're going to talk about that because that is, we're here exploring our spiritual journey and about following our own intuition and getting our own answers. Okay. So, yeah, so like that whole month, that whole week, it was all about, just let go, let Jesus take care of it. Okay. Then they kind of came back again with help is coming, Putin is dead, you are safe, sit tight home, you are safe again, you stand strong. And there's all these follow-up questions, but you're almost there, help is here, rest assured, F45. They spelled out TRUMP. And then they started asking us, why are you worried? Why are you doubting? Why are you just waiting? And these messages started talking about God. So we went from no spiritual messages besides just hope. That's where I'm leaning on this. Okay. Nothing specifically about Jesus or God. It was just messages of hope, just messages of, we're going to help you deal with this, the shock and awe. Okay. Then we started getting these messages about Jesus. Now we're getting messages about God. So why is that? What are you seeing in that pattern? Because the last week it's been, why are you worried? Trust God. Those were the two messages. Because I said, why do you ask that? Why are you worried? And they said, trust God. Why are you doubting? Trust God. That was they spelled that out. Why are you just waiting? Which I thought was an interesting one. That was on the 15th of April. And then the follow-up to that was love God. Then it was trust yourself. And I said how, and they said inner work. And then on the 17th, we started, okay, so we had that week of like, you need to be working on yourself. And now we're back to the last 2 days. And I don't have a message for today because I'm doing an original coffee with Karen. where I just got up and I didn't have to sit and plan stuff. Okay. I don't have cards or anything today. So, so then it was, so the last two messages we got, 17th and 18th. F45 is going down. Oh no, it was let God handle him. So these are continuing God messages. Then on the 18th, it was Trump is just a man. Let God deal with him. Okay. And I know it's so interesting because I saw a couple messages, like one person said, well, yeah, he's just a man, but he's doing a lot of blah, blah, blah. Okay, So rather than hear the message, I know it's our logical brains. I get it. We want to say, yeah, but, okay. So when I think of this whole story, because this is a story, right? I could write a whole story based on these messages. What I see, and I would love to hear what you see from this. Excuse me. That baking soda is working. Okay. What I'm seeing is helping us out of crisis from the shock and awe, helping us out of that crisis, okay, for that first month. So giving us messages of things we needed to hear. Were they lying to us? No, because we're asking for the messages for our highest good, our highest and best good, okay? So if those are messages for our highest good, if you ask that question when you're asking for guidance, again, whether you can hear directly or not, but if you're asking for guidance, always, it's best to ask for in my highest and best good and in the highest and best good for all, okay? When you set intentions and goals and that sort of thing. So yeah, so I find it very interesting when I look back. Am I mad at them? No, I'm not mad at them. Am I mad at them that Jack isn't here yet? No, I'm not. Because I am trusting the process now more than ever. And I just find it fascinating that I think they were helping us get through the shock and awe of the first month. Then they started leaning on your faith, our faith, right? Then they're like, hey, you guys are on a spiritual journey here. You are spirits having a human experience. So what are you doing? What are you doing besides hanging on to watching somebody else in the world live their life, which is basically what we're doing with F45. Goodness gracious. Unless I always preface, it's knocking on your door. If you are, I know Mr. Garcia. If you're Mr. Garcia, it knocked on his door, didn't it? So his experience is very different than what yours and mine might be if it's not knocking on your door. If your social security check changed for some reason because of F45 and his, whatever, his dismantling, then it's knocking on your door, right? So you have some different challenges that you have to deal with, right? And so you might have a different perspective, which is beautiful. Like that's what we want. We want people to share their perspectives. That's what this community is for us to see these things and grow with them. And so if it hasn't knocked on your door directly, if you have the, it depends on what's going on in your life. If you have the space to be contemplating yourself, okay? Because I really think that's where they have taken us over the last couple of weeks is the inner work stuff. I've been talking about the inner work, okay? Whether it's shadow work, whether it's doing morning pages, which is we're starting the morning pages 30-day challenge on May 1st. So I'm hoping by tomorrow I'll have a sign up for the newsletter where you can get details about that, okay? So just watch for that in the video descriptions going forward for the newsletter. You'll get them in the video descriptions. So, I was gonna, well, I have another little announcement, but I'll wait till tomorrow. Make sure we're gonna do it. That's so like me to jump on something. So, yeah, and so I think it's been really about the inner work over the last couple weeks, or I would say like actually the last month has been more about the inner work. And I think my sense is like we weren't ready for the inner work in February because we were just like in shock. We're like, what the what the hell's going on, right? At least I wasn't. I can only talk for myself. But I think, and these messages were for community, right? So when I ask for these messages, I ask for messages for the community. So I think that's really what it is we had to they were helping us deal with the shock. So, and that's how they chose to do it, which actually helped. It helped me a lot. It gave me a lot of hope in those days where I was like, Jack is coming, la la la. I don't even find myself asking at this point. Some of you might, but I don't find myself even asking now, when is this over? Because I'm going into myself now. Like, I know it'll be over because I can see it building, so I'm trusting it. And it's like, maybe that's why they're not giving us all those kind of messages anymore, because the momentum is moving. Okay. And it's still pretty scary, but I can see, obviously, I'm excited to see what happened with the protest yesterday on the 19th. I haven't gotten any data about that. If you went to some protests, would you guys let us know in the comments what that was like? How many people? Was it bigger than last time? I'm hoping. So it really is so interesting. And it's what's interesting. And so we shifted to, you guys need to do your inner work, and whatever that means to you, just a little inner work, little bit. I've gone from like 0 to 60 on inner work. That doesn't mean you have to. I'm doing it because I'm facilitating conversations here and in the spirit circle. But I'm so glad because it's kind of forced me as the facilitator to do it. So, if you can find, if in an ideal world, if you can find an hour to do inner work every day, that'd be amazing. And the inner work could be, again, anything that works for you, just something that is helping you look inside, process how you're feeling, process your thoughts. Where are those thoughts coming from? Where are your triggers coming from? All those types of things. Journaling, meditating, whatever works for you, walking in nature, but not just walking for exercise with your headphones on, walking in meditation. That's different, excuse me, writing down any messages you're getting while you're walking, writing them on, if you were meditating, if you were doing a slow walk through nature, you could have a little Post-it pad and a pencil and just slow walk and just, leave your mind empty, and anything that came down into your mind, you could write it down, because those might be messages from your guides, So if you have an hour, I think that would be ideal, especially, again, we're not doing as much shopping nowadays, are we? Which I find fascinating. I'm going to come back to that in a second. For myself, I'm going to tell you what I did this weekend, because we were on a no-buy this weekend. We were collectively trying to do a no-buy weekend. And so if you can find an hour, amazing. But anything between 5 minutes and an hour is better than nothing, right? So work your way up to it. It's just like exercising, I'm just thinking about Lucy, because she used to sit here all the time with Coffee with Karen. See, I just got up, so she's hanging out with me. Usually Coffee with Karen, you don't see her anymore, do you? But when I first started, she always hung out with me. It's because I always did it right when I woke up. So it's kind of interesting. Now you might see her if I started doing this again. We'll just see. So, so yeah, so if you can dedicate yourself to doing some, you know, there she goes. Bye, sissy. Oh, Twitch. If you can dedicate a little bit of time to your inner work, and even if that's why I kind of want to do the challenge, because I want to start doing morning pages, which I'll explain in the newsletter, but I want to start doing morning pages on a regular basis. And so I thought, well, let's bring the community along. Let's do it as a challenge for ourselves. Okay. And that would be, that could take 15 minutes and be enough of your inner work for the day. So, but if we're on a spiritual journey and we're going to trust the messages, like I'm not going to argue with God. I'm not going to argue with him. When I first used the dowsing rods and got irritated or annoyed because the answers they gave me didn't seem to pan out, my logical brain wanted to say, you're not helping me, And if we looked back over which is exactly what I'm going to talk about in the next video, to help our community member with that situation, okay? Because you guys will have much more to help with that than I will. And I think it'll be interesting to have that conversation so that we have all these comments from everybody who's on the spiritual journey. And then that person plus everybody else can get support, because it happens to all of us as we're trusting our own intuition. It's happening to all of us, okay? So if we were to lean on the messages from February and say, well, where is Jack? He's not here. You said he was coming, right? What happened to the military? What happened to Tyrant down today? Back NATO now, meaning NATO was back now is how I interpreted it. Very soon. High risk now. I love the Elon, you suck. That will always be my favorite. I should put that on a mug. The SGs, something like the SG said, Elon, you suck. I just think it's funny. City under attack, war in sight. What the hell? What the hell? So anyways, that's, if we were just going to if we weren't going to trust our intuition or trust the spirit guides to guide us, then what are we doing? Like, why are you even doing it? Oh my goodness. If you're going to, if we're going to do this work, then we have to have faith. It's about faith, right? So, and again, I think it's fascinating how they were helping us with the shock by giving us messages that were helping us, like logically helping us. Like something is going to happen. That's awesome. We need that. Okay. Then they shifted to Jesus. Then they shifted to God. And so did they do that because they're like, yeah, people aren't paying attention to the Jesus messages. Now we got to go right to God because maybe they'll pay attention to those. And when did I start it's April, right? So on April 1st is when we started the Sacred Shadows in the Spirit Circle. And I did that. I found the book on my bookshelf and I was like, oh yeah, that's what we're going to do. I just was inspired to do it. And that's about, I don't know if we would have been ready for Sacred Shadows in February or March, but we started it in April. And April is where they really started talking about the trust God. So they're like, you know what, you guys Jesus ain't doing it for you. Like those messages weren't enough. We gotta go right up to the top. So I don't know. What do you think about it? That's interesting. So what was I going to say? I said I was going to talk about something. Now, of course, I didn't. Now I don't remember. You guys are like, what? I don't remember. If you remind me, maybe I'll pop on and do a 5-minute, but I can't remember now what it was. I know I said I'll talk about that in a minute. See, if I don't go off on my little tangents, because I know that's hard for some people when I go off on these little tangents. But if I don't, I will never come back to it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll come back to that. No, I won't, because I can't remember now. So, anywho, let me know what you think. Kind of interesting. I think it's fascinating. Trying to see if there's anything else I want to say. I don't think so. But yeah, so are you trusting Jesus? Are you trusting God? I mean, it is Easter today. If you're celebrating Easter because you're celebrating what Easter stands for, then we can't be doubting the messages that we're getting. They're giving us messages for a reason. Okay, so what's the lesson in those messages? Which is why it's amazing if you can write them down, because then you can go back and see a pattern, you know? And if you're a sensor in the Myers-Briggs, it will be harder for you to see the patterns. So trust the patterns are there. And if you have any intuitives in the Myers-Briggs intuitives, the N's in your life, ask them to help you see the patterns. Okay, because if you had a one-on-one with me, which I don't offer, but right now, but if you had a one-on-one with me and you explained a few things, I could see the pattern like that. It's just how I learn. I could see it very, very quickly. So if you have ends in your life and you're a sensor and you can't see the pattern, then find an intuitive in your life who can help you with that, because really helpful to see the patterns. Okay. All right. Well, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.